Hello everyone, welcome back to another video on the channel. Today will be my Game Week 11 transfer plans ahead of the final game week before the international break. I'll run you through my Game Week 10 score, how I'm currently getting on, and I'll run you through my Game Week 11 team selection and talk about some of my projected transfers for Game Week 11. At the end of the video, I will also have some of my suggested transfers for you guys and some of the best differentials going forward. Let's get straight into it. So taking a look at my Game Week 10 score, it's an unusual game week. I'm currently on 72 points and Sunderland are yet to play Everton. I felt like during the week it was a good game week until, of course, Haaland's brace. Now, captaincy kind of went my way, kind of not. Again, a 10-pointer for Salah and a 13-pointer for Haaland. Not too much in it. 6 points in the difference if I went Haaland, which is very, very little. And a lot of people wouldn't have owned Salah anyway. A lot of blanks and a lot of returns. Again, I don't know how to feel. We're currently on a grey arrow, 413k. Expecting this to turn into a small red one after Sunderland and Everton. But, I mean, overall, I've been happy with this game week. And when I look at the actual team, what it comes down to is my decisions going into game week 10. I decided to hold on to João Pedro, even though I had enough money to go to Jean-Philippe Mateta. Reason being, and I was correct for this particular game week, but Pedro has great fixtures, and I thought Tottenham was a good one. And again, Tottenham are my own team, and for me to say Tottenham is a good game, I just felt like Dr. Tottenham was looming around for Pedro, and there was something in this game for him because he hadn't had a shot in weeks. It's just so typical to do it against Tottenham. Other than that, the captaincy decision, like I said, no regrets. I feel like Salah actually played really, really well. Again, you might disagree with that. I don't know if you watched the game, but that 8 o'clock kickoff for Liverpool, Salah was much, much better. He looked like a lot more like the old Salah we know. Now, that's not to say he got the greatest of numbers in this particular game versus Villa, but he did come up in a lot of areas that I did like, and his passing was sharp, his dribbling looked a bit sharp, and he looked a bit just generally better and happier. At the end of the game, he spoke about how it's taken this Liverpool team time with the amount of new signings, and that's normal. And the likes of Szoboszlai in the 10 and Andrew Robertson playing at left back gave Salah a bit more familiarity and a bit more chemistry in the team. And going forward, I wonder, is that something Slot is going to do week in, week out? Now, Florian Wirtz did drop to the bench, and his cameo wasn't great. So I wonder what his position in this team is going to be going forward. Now, the fixture congestion for Liverpool is going to get quite tough. Same with any of the teams in Europe, to be honest. But we'll talk about that in the team selection section in just a second. Other than that, my whole midfield blanked, which was not great. Eze, Sarr, Kudus, and Enzo. I feel like Enzo was had a decent game versus Tottenham, also picked up some decent numbers. Kudus was left very, very quiet and got a yellow card. Sarr also very quiet, clean sheet points. And same with Eze, who actually did start the game, which I was surprised with. Other than that, of course, Erling Haaland doing the business for many managers who captained him. The only gaping hole I didn't have was Gabriel. And if I had him, again, what if I had him? If I look at my defense, to be honest, I'm not displeased. 3 returns out of 3 defenders and a goalkeeper blank with 6 saves. I mean, no complaints on my end, and I'm quite happy with it because if you look at the value that these guys provide, 4.5 million with Anderson and Richards, and of course the cheaper asset in Timber at 5.8, I believe I picked him up. So quite happy with the game week, I have to say. We go into game week 11 with 3 free transfers. Let's get into my team selection for game week 11. So getting into my game week 11 team selection, we've got Nick Pope on goal, 3 at the back in Anderson, Richards, Timber, 5 in midfield, Eze, Sarr, Kudus, Salah, and Enzo, 2 up top in Pedro, and Erling Haaland with the armband. I have 3 free transfers going into game week 11. Again, like I said, the last game before the big international break, or another international break, sorry, and I have 3 free transfers, 0.1 in the bank, and I think I'm very, very happy with my team, ladies and gentlemen. Let me give you some of my, first off, problems. Well, if I say problems, I mean some of the potential areas I could be making a move. Now, I think the glaring one for me, with the fixture turn for Tottenham, and Eze with the potential reduction of minutes as soon as Kai Havertz, Martinelli, and Martin Odegaard when they come back, likely after the international break. So Kudus and Eze are definitely my 2 token points in potentially moving them on. Now, just on Kudus in particular, now I know there will be a lot of you guys out there with Kudus. The Spurs guys are very owned, so it'll be a good token point. For me, generally, I would say again, we've been really, really disappointing. There's been, there's no sugarcoating that, especially from an attacking point of view. As a fan, first off, I would say, I'm definitely happy with Thomas Frank. I think it's way too early to be making any concrete um, expectations, to be honest, on Frank, because it's only been, 10 league games. And I know we've not been particularly good, even in the Champions League as well. But for me, he just needs time. And it takes time to integrate new players into the squad. You can see even Liverpool struggling with the massive signings they've got. And we have a brand new front three this time around. So things are going to take time. Where do I land on Kudus? So Kudus for me is always going to be Spurs' main man, particularly when you look at what's around for Spurs. Now I know I speak about this week in, week out, and it's why I've holding on to him. And you might say that is not good enough for an asset at 6.8 million. And I would agree. But coming into United at home, which we are historically good at our stadium, I want to say, especially in recent time, Spurs need a big home result, especially after Chelsea's event. And also, we have Champions League midweek. So first off, I will be monitoring both Kudus and Eze. Same with all seven of my forward line, to be honest. But particularly Kudus and Eze. See what minutes they get and what the energy is around in both of these Champions League games. I think the likelihood come the deadline in game week 11 will be that I hold on to Kudus and Eze, because of course Eze's fixture with Sunderland away and Kudus' fixture with United at home, which I think is a game with goals in it. I'm definitely going to hold on to him, I would say. And also, the reason I'm more than happy to hold on to him is because of the international break. I would like to have 4 free transfers going into the international break due to how much we know that there can be injuries. It is a quite likely occurrence when players go to travel, of course. And with the fixtures starting to turn come game week 12, you have the likes of Chelsea's game after Burnley getting quite tough. You have the likes of Spurs, who you might want to get rid of. And also, the fixtures for Liverpool and City start to get good from game week 13 onwards. So there will be a shift in team dynamic and templates, I can imagine. And I want to be able to be as flexible as possible going into that time. Whether or not I want to hold on to players like Kudus or Eze, that's a conversation I'm more than happy to have after another game week. Again, I'm more than happy to hold on to players if I think the fixture in this particular game week is nice for him. And same with Pedro last game week. Again, now I have Pedro after a good performance, I would have to say. He could have had much more, and a brace was definitely on the cards for Pedro. Now he goes into Wolves at home and Burnley away, and it's looking quite good with Liam Delap coming back. Enzo, on the other hand, is a one that I'm not particularly happy with, I have to say. But the fixtures are there, and I'd be silly to get rid of him. Sarr, I'm more than happy to hold on to. And another discussion that I want to have about my own team in particular would be the double Arsenal defence conversation, particularly because I don't own Gabriel. Now, where I stand on this, and I know there will be a good few managers who are watching this video, and let me know in the comment section what your dilemmas for this game week are. But that won't own a Gabriel, for example, won't own double Arsenal defence, and there might even be some out there that don't own any Arsenal defence. Where I currently stand on that is I don't think the returns from Gabriel are sustainable in a sense of the rate he's hitting DEFCON and getting attacking returns. That's not to say he won't continue to be Arsenal's biggest threat from all set pieces. But my point is sometimes the ball might land to a Jurriën Timber, for example, a Calafiori, or even like a Victor Gyökeres like we saw on the weekend. So I'm not going to break up my structure because I'm very happy with the value that the likes of an Anderson and Richards and Timber are providing. Sure, they're not picking me up a 12-pointer every single week, but their time will come and they have good fixtures and good attack and threat. Same with Jurriën Timber. I don't feel like it is necessary to try get him up to a Gabriel. The only other contention that I could be looking at is Pope to Rhea. Now, for anyone that watches the streams on a Sunday with Gianni and I spoke about how that could be a good move. With Newcastle's fixture not being fixtures down the line, particularly not being outstandish, to be honest. Now, apologies for my English, but you know what I'm trying to say. Until the likes of Burnley and Sunderland come later down the line. Again, he's great for save points, and the fixtures aren't the worst. But when I compare him to Area, a keeper who's just on flying form one, and the fixtures are great no matter who Arsenal are playing, why not use that third Arsenal spot? So if you're asking me now, I think I could potentially hold on to all of my assets for the time being, and wait and see in game week 12. Other than that, if I were to make a move, it'll be dependent on what Kudus and Eze do midweek. So there is my game week 11 team. Let's take a look at my watch list for game week 11. So before we quickly get into my game week 11 watch list, let me quickly invite you guys to hit the like button and subscribe. Again, 250 likes is the goal for this video. And if you aren't already subscribed, we are closing in on 10,000. So help us get there, lads. Getting straight into the watch list. The left column is, of course, for my own team. The second column is the best general transfers that you should be looking at. And the third column is the best differentials. Let's start with my own team, of course, and who I'll be looking at if I were to make transfers this game. So I have Elliot Anderson in here. He's the first one I want to talk about. I feel like the reason he has to be in this list is because with a Salah and Haaland structure, I have to be looking towards how I could be able to open funds for other players I want. And one way would be an Eze or a Kudus down to Elliot Anderson at 5.3 million. Now, I think Elliot Anderson is an amazing asset for that value. Again, he's got DEFCON at a rate of 10 games every single game this season and has just missed out on the 12 a few times, getting 11 a few times also. So 2 price drops since the start of the season, coming in at 5.3 million. Again, he's not going to be that explosive asset that gets me massive returns on a weekly basis, but at 5.3 million as an 8th attacker, if I can temper my expectations, and I can target some games where he's going to get DEFCONs at a 4-point minimum. And I also think with Deutsch coming in now, Elliot Anderson's attacking threat is going to be decent sooner rather than later, and it's only a matter of time until he starts getting some sort of returns. Now, that's comparing that to how poor Forest have been, and also some difficult fixtures in there. I feel like Elliot Anderson is always going to be a player who's going to pick up some sort of goals and assists throughout the season. That moves us on to, again, like I spoke about, my situation on the Arsenal defence. Do I want to go towards a Gabriel, or is it too late? I think he's definitely has to be a token point for my own team. Again, doubling up on the Arsenal defence almost seems essential at this point. I'm just currently not in a rush to do it. Now, there probably will not be a better point in the season to do it, with Sunderland, Tottenham to come next, and with the form Arsenal are on, it looks like it can keep anybody out because they're keeping big teams out to very little chances. But if I were to consider a defender at this point in the season, I think it has to be Gabriel, and a great opening fixture to do it. I'm not quite pushed to do it, but if I were to choose one, it would be him. Lastly, we have Ekitike, who scored an offside goal in this game versus Villa at home, and they play City away this game week. Now, I don't think this is a great opening fixture to bring in Ekitike in particular, but looking towards game week 12, with Nottingham Forest home, West Ham, Sunderland, and Leeds, I'd be really interested in the likes of Ekitike. He looks really sharp and has done since the start of the season. And I want to get a bit more information on Isaac's situation. Again, we'll get a lot of that in the international break. And therefore, I feel like, regardless of Isaac's situation, Ekitike has been that good this season that I'd be very surprised to see him on the bench much longer for Liverpool. So with Isaac out, he's going to be starting come game week 12, and then when Salah goes off to AFCON in 16 or 17, Ekitike still looks amazing going forward, and I imagine he'll have his position nailed in this team. Looking at the best general transfers, I still feel like Jurriën Timber comes in at really good value. Same with Cody Gakpo, who, again, waiting for that big fixture change in 12. But City away for the likes of a Gakpo is not bad. Historically, Gakpo is really good against the top 6. And I feel like there are goals in this game for Liverpool, of course. And same for City. I feel like it could be either a very tight game or an open game where, to be honest, I feel like, Liverpool have to be pragmatic going into this game. It could be very damaging, especially considering whatever result we see midweek for Liverpool in the Champions League. So I feel like Liverpool's approach will be way more pragmatic in compared to City. Again, Liverpool have been really poor at the back. So knowing that and the form Erling Haaland is on, Arne Slot's approach has to be careful. But Gakpo is definitely not a bad asset to have, even in the City game. And just looking at those fixtures, as I can't look past them, Forest, West Ham, Sunderland, and Leeds, I feel like we're going to start transitioning where we want a lot of Liverpool assets and City assets after game week 13 when they play Newcastle, after they play Newcastle away. No surprise to see Jean-Philippe Mateta, still one of the best general transfers for a striker. Brentford at home, which is a lovely fixture. And pairing him in the differential section is Daniel Munoz. The reason he's in the differential section is because the likelihood is, if you have the likes of a Timber or Gabriel Rea, it's probably hard to stretch to Munoz also. And I feel like with those fixtures Palace have um, with Brighton, Wolves, United, and Burnley. Sorry, I said Mateta plays Brentford, and that's the game that just happened. I'm looking at an old graphic. Apologies. But still very, very good assets going into these fixtures and home games, which of course are brilliant. So I like Daniel Munoz, of course. He's really good for DEFCON, even when the fixtures get tougher, always providing that attacking threat. And we've seen even against Arsenal, he's not scared to go for it. Jean-Philippe Mateta on the penalties. Minutes are good, and Ketty is out. I don't think there's too much more to say on him. Next is Brian Mbeumo, who's one of the best differential midfielders in my eyes. Tottenham away, which is a lovely fixture, of course, at this point in the season. He just looks so sharp. And United fans, tell me in the comment section below if you agree, but he's looked like United's best player so far this season. And he just looks really sharp. Tottenham away, and then the fixtures get really good with Everton at home, Crystal Palace, West Ham, Wolves, and Bournemouth. Some great fixtures in there for the likes of Brian Mbeumo, who we know has a 20-goal season in him at a Brentford. So who knows if United start clicking for the remainder of the season, what his goal and assist return could look like going forward. And lastly, on the list is a player that I think we need to start looking at, Danny Welbeck with Crystal Palace. An asset that's gone underneath the radar so far this season, and he's got another return. I feel like it's time at that price point, and if he's continuing to get minutes, he's definitely favoured up front for Fabian Herzl up top. It's time to start looking at a Welbeck, and I think he comes in at a price point that is definitely reasonable with the fixtures that Brighton have. So I said I slap him on the list. Now, I wouldn't be all over Danny Welbeck personally. I feel like the likes of an Ekitike, Mateta, a Haaland, of course, and I think we're going to start seeing different players arise, whether or not it's a Renan Cherki or Phil Foden come later down the line. So I wouldn't be too pushed on going to a Welbeck just yet, but I said I'd put him in because he needs a place in the differential section. I'm going to round up the video there, lads. Just to note, again, we will have a team selection video, a deadline stream, and I've added a new thing to the end of these videos where we thank the members. And if you want to become a member, lads, to support the channel, again, you get access to my WhatsApp group. It's nothing gate kept. I'm a very open book. It's just another way to support me. Feel free to click the join button. And as usual, lads, I'm going to wrap it up there. Hit the like button and subscribe. And I will see you in the next.